Zintheris was a world once filled with life and color. Its skies shimmered with two suns, and its forests glowed softly at night. The planet's many species lived in peace, sharing resources and building thriving cities. But that all changed when the Vorinth arrived. The Vorinth were tall, insect-like creatures with sharp claws and glowing eyes. They came from a distant part of the galaxy, led by their queen, Xylithra. She was a towering figure, her body covered in shimmering black armor, her voice echoing like thunder. When the Vorinth landed on Zintheris, they didn't ask for permission. They took what they wanted. At first, the natives tried to fight back. Their weapons were no match for the advanced technology of the Vorinth. Soldiers fell quickly, and cities burned under relentless attacks. Soon, the survivors had no choice but to surrender. Xylithra declared herself ruler of Zintheris, and her warriors enforced her laws with brutal efficiency. Under her rule, the people of Zintheris suffered. They worked long hours mining rare minerals or building machines for the Vorinth. Anyone who disobeyed faced punishment, or worse, death. Fear became a constant companion for everyone. Over time, hope faded away. Many forgot what it felt like to dream of freedom. Centuries passed, and the Vorinth's grip only tightened. Their bioengineered soldiers patrolled every corner of the planet, watching for any sign of rebellion. The hive mind system made them nearly unstoppable. Each Vorinth warrior was connected to the others through special implants controlled by Xylithra. This allowed them to act as one perfect machine, crushing resistance wherever it appeared. But then, something strange happened. Strange ships began appearing in the sky. At first, the Vorinth ignored them, thinking they posed no threat. Then, one of the ships crashed near a remote village. The crash sent shockwaves through the area, flattening trees and shaking the ground. Curious and scared, locals approached the wreckage cautiously. Inside, they found survivors, humans. These newcomers called themselves explorers from Earth, a distant planet far beyond the stars. Captain Alina Voss, the leader of the group, stepped out of the wreckage. Her uniform was torn, and her face was streaked with dirt, but she carried herself with confidence. "Who are you?" asked one of the villagers nervously. "We're here by accident," Alina replied. "Our ship malfunctioned. We need help." The villagers hesitated. Helping strangers could mean trouble with the Vorinth. But something about Alina's calm demeanor reassured them. They decided to take her and her crew to their hidden settlement. As days passed, Alina learned about the Vorinth's cruel rule. She saw the scars on the villagers' hands from hard labor and heard stories of loved ones lost to the Queen's wrath. Anger stirred inside her. Back on Earth, humanity had fought its own battles for freedom. Now, seeing innocent beings suffer under oppression, she couldn't stand aside. "We can help you," Alina said one evening, addressing the villagers. "We may not have an army, but we have knowledge and tools. Together, we can find a way to fight back." Some villagers nodded eagerly, while others looked skeptical. Could these outsiders really make a difference? Alina knew convincing them wouldn't be easy. But deep down, she believed they had no other choice. If they did nothing, the Vorinth would continue ruling forever. Little did Alina know, her arrival had already caught the attention of General Vorithis, Xylithra's most trusted commander. From his fortress high above the planet, he watched the humans closely. "They will learn," he muttered coldly, "that resistance is futile." For now, though, Alina focused on survival. She studied the Vorinth's technology, searching for weaknesses. And slowly, she began earning the trust of the villagers. Hope, faint but real, started to flicker again on Zintheris. Days turned into weeks as Captain Alina Voss and her crew settled into the hidden village. The villagers, though grateful for their help, remained cautious. They had seen too many false hopes crushed by the Vorinth, but Alina was determined to prove herself. She knew that gaining their trust would be the first step toward freedom. One evening, while repairing damaged equipment from the crash, Alina noticed a shadow moving near the edge of the forest. Her hand instinctively went to her sidearm, but before she could react, a voice called out, "Relax, human. I'm not here to hurt you." The figure stepped into the light, a tall man with sharp features and piercing green eyes. His clothes were patched and worn, and his hands bore calluses from years of hard work. This was Kale, a rebel leader who had spent decades fighting against the Vorinth. "I've heard about you," Kale said, crossing his arms. "You claim you can help us. But why should we believe you?" Alina met his gaze without flinching. "Because I've seen what oppression does to people. Back on Earth, humanity fought its own battles for freedom. We didn't give up then, and we won't give up now." Kale studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Fine. Follow me." He led Alina and her crew deep into the forest, where a secret camp lay hidden beneath thick foliage. Dozens of rebels trained quietly, practicing with makeshift weapons. Some nursed injuries from recent skirmishes with the Vorinth. Despite their ragged appearance, there was fire in their eyes, a flicker of defiance that hadn't been extinguished. "This is what's left of the resistance," Kale explained. "We've tried everything to weaken the Vorinth, but they're too strong. Their hive mind makes them unbeatable." Alina listened carefully, piecing together the puzzle. She asked questions about the Vorinth's tactics, their supply lines, and their weaknesses. One detail caught her attention. The Vorinth relied heavily on bioengineered creatures to patrol remote areas. These creatures, while fearsome, weren't very smart. "We can use that to our advantage," Alina suggested. "If we disrupt their supply routes, we can cut off resources to certain regions. It'll force them to spread thin." Kale raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan to do that? We don't have your fancy weapons." Alina smiled faintly. "We don't need fancy weapons, just smart planning and courage." Over the next few days, Alina worked closely with Kale and the rebels. She taught them basic strategies used by human armies: ambushes, diversions, and hit-and-run attacks. At first, some rebels doubted her methods, but when they tested them during a small raid on a Vorinth outpost, the results spoke for themselves. The attack was swift and precise. Using Alina's plan, the rebels struck at night, targeting weak points in the outpost's defenses. They destroyed supplies and damaged equipment before retreating into the shadows. Though it was a minor victory, it boosted morale among the rebels. For the first time in years, they felt like they could actually make a difference. During this time, Alina grew close to Naira, a young healer from the Lutheri clan. Naira had lost her entire family to the Vorinth's cruelty, yet she still found strength to care for others. Her gentle nature reminded Alina of home, and the two women formed a bond over shared stories of loss and resilience. "You remind me of my sister," Naira said one evening as they sat by the fire. "She always believed things could get better, even when no one else did." Alina smiled sadly. "That kind of hope is powerful. It keeps us going when everything seems impossible." But not everyone trusted Alina. Some rebels whispered that she might bring more trouble than help. Others feared the Vorinth would retaliate violently if they discovered the humans' presence. Kale tried to reassure them, but doubts lingered. Meanwhile, far away in her fortress, Queen Silithra learned of the growing unrest. Through her hive mind connection, she sensed unusual activity among the native species. Her cold lips curled into a sinister smile. "Let them try," she murmured. "They will learn the price of defiance." For now, though, Alina focused on strengthening the alliance. She knew the road ahead would be dangerous, but she also knew they couldn't give up. Together, they were taking the first steps toward freedom. The rebellion was growing stronger, but trust between the humans and the native species remained fragile. Alina understood that uniting the scattered groups of Zintheris would be their greatest challenge. Without a united front, defeating the Vorinth was impossible. Kale introduced Alina to representatives from two key factions, the Lutheri and the Augments. The Lutheri were amphibious beings who lived in the rivers and swamps of Zintheris. They were peaceful by nature, but fiercely protective of their territory. The Augments, on the other hand, were mechanical beings created by the Vorinth centuries ago as workers and soldiers. Over time, many had broken free from the hive mind and now sought independence. At first, tensions ran high during meetings. The Lutheri distrusted the Augments, blaming them for helping the Vorinth in the early days of the invasion. The Augments, in turn, resented being judged for actions they no longer supported. Alina listened patiently as arguments erupted around her. "We can't fight together if we're too busy fighting each other," she said firmly, silencing the room. "The Vorinth want us divided. That's how they stay in control. If we unite, we become stronger than they could ever imagine." Her words struck a chord, especially with Naira, who stepped forward to speak. "Alina is right. My people have suffered enough. We must stand together, not just for ourselves, but for future generations." Slowly, the factions began to see the wisdom in her words. It wasn't easy. Old wounds didn't heal overnight, but small steps were taken. The Lutheri shared knowledge of hidden waterways that could serve as safe routes for smuggling weapons. The Augments offered their technical expertise to repair damaged equipment and even build new tools. As alliances formed, Alina worked tirelessly to prepare the rebels for larger battles. She taught them how to use human tactics like ambushes and decoys. She also emphasized teamwork, showing them how different skills could complement one another. For example, the Lutheri's agility made them perfect scouts, while the Augment's strength allowed them to carry heavy supplies or hold defensive positions. Despite progress, doubts lingered. Some rebels still questioned whether Alina's plans would work. One night, after a training session, Kel confronted her. "What happens if we fail?" he asked, his voice heavy with uncertainty. "If we lose, the Vorinth will crush us harder than before." Alina looked at him, her expression calm but resolute. "Then we fight until we win, or until there's nothing left to fight for. Giving up isn't an option. You've already shown me your courage, Kel. Now it's time to show it to everyone else." Her determination inspired him, and he nodded silently. In the days that followed, news spread of another successful raid led by Alina's team. This time, they targeted a Vorinth communication tower, temporarily disrupting signals across a large region. Though the victory was short-lived, it proved the rebels could strike where it hurt most. But the cost of these victories weighed heavily on everyone. During one skirmish, Naira saved Alina's life by pulling her out of the path of an exploding drone. Later, sitting by a campfire, Alina thanked her. "You didn't have to do that," Alina said softly. "Yes, I did," Naira replied with a faint smile. "You're giving us hope, Alina. Hope is worth protecting." Back at the Vorinth fortress, General Vorithis reported the increasing rebel activity to Queen Xylithra. Her glowing eyes narrowed as she processed the information. "Humans," she hissed, her voice dripping with disdain. "They think their interference will change anything. Show them how wrong they are." Vorithis bowed and departed, ready to unleash the full force of the Vorinth army. Meanwhile, Alina and the rebels prepared for what lay ahead. They knew the battles would only get tougher, but they also knew they couldn't turn back now. For the first time in years, whispers of hope echoed through Zintheris. And though the road ahead was dark, the light of unity burned brighter than ever. The rebels were ready. After weeks of planning and training, they prepared for their biggest attack yet, a strike on a major Vorinth supply depot deep in enemy territory. The depot was heavily guarded, filled with weapons, food, and bioengineered creatures used to patrol the planet. Destroying it would cripple the Vorinth's operations in the region and send a clear message. The resistance was no longer hiding. Alina led the mission, her confidence bolstered by the unity she had helped build among the factions. Kale stood by her side, his doubts replaced by determination. Naira and Solon, a rogue augment who had become a trusted ally, completed the core team. Together, they briefed the rebels one last time before setting out under the cover of darkness. "We hit hard and fast," Alina instructed. "Focus on the weak points we've identified. Don't get caught up in long fights. Our goal is to destroy the depot and leave." The journey to the target was tense. The group moved silently through dense forests, avoiding patrols of Vorinth drones and bioengineered beasts. The Lutheri scouts guided them along hidden waterways, ensuring they stayed undetected. As they approached the depot, the air grew thick with tension. "This is it," Kel whispered, gripping his weapon tightly. The attack began at midnight. Using explosives crafted by the augments, the rebels blew open the outer gates, creating chaos within the compound. Vorinth warriors scrambled to respond, but the rebels struck with precision. Teams split off to sabotage key areas, while others distracted the guards. Elena led a small squad straight for the central storage facility, where crates of supplies were stacked high. She planted charges carefully, making sure every explosion would count. Behind her, Naira tended to injured fighters, her hand steady despite the noise and danger surrounding them. But the Vorinth fought back fiercely. Reinforcements poured in, overwhelming some rebel units. In the confusion, Naira noticed a group of warriors closing in on Elena's position. Without hesitation, she ran toward the threat, drawing their attention away from the captain. "Naira, no," Elena shouted as she turned to see her friend surrounded. Naira hurled a makeshift bomb at the warriors, creating an opening for herself to escape, but not before taking a blow from one of their energy weapons. Collapsing to the ground, she called out weakly, "Finish the job, Elena." Fueled by anger and grief, Elena detonated the charges, sending flames roaring through the depot. The explosion lit up the night sky, shaking the ground beneath their feet. With the depot destroyed, the rebels retreated into the forest, carrying their wounded comrades. Back at the hidden base, the mood was somber. Though they had won a significant victory, the cost was devastating. Naira lay motionless, her life slipping away despite desperate efforts to save her. Elena sat beside her, tears streaming down her face. "You gave us hope," Elena said softly, holding Naira's hand. "We won't forget what you did." Naira managed a faint smile. "Just keep fighting," she murmured before closing her eyes for the last time. Kale placed a comforting hand on Elena's shoulder. "She believed in you. We all do. This isn't over." News of the attack reached General Vorithis quickly. Furious, he vowed to crush the rebellion once and for all. He deployed swarms of drones and bioengineered hunters to track down the rebels' base. For Elena and her allies, there was no time to mourn. They had struck a powerful blow against the Vorinth, but they knew retaliation would come swiftly. As dawn broke over Zintheris, the rebels prepared for what lay ahead. Hope still burned brightly, even in the face of loss. The rebels retreated deeper into the wilderness after the attack on the supply depot. Though they had dealt a significant blow to the Vorinth, the price was heavy. Naira's death weighed heavily on everyone, especially Elena. She spent hours sitting alone by the fire, staring at the flames, as if searching for answers. Kale noticed her silence, but chose not to disturb her. He knew she needed time to process her grief and to refocus. Meanwhile, the augments worked tirelessly to repair damaged equipment and analyze captured Vorinth technology. Solon, the rogue augment who had become a key ally, brought Elena a strange device he had salvaged from the depot. It was small, metallic, and pulsated faintly with a soft blue light. "What is this?" Elena asked, turning it over in her hands. "It's part of their hive mind system," Solon explained. "Every Vorinth warrior has one implanted in their body. It connects them to Queen Silithra's control node." Elena's eyes widened. "So, if we destroy this central node, we can break their connection." Solon nodded. "In theory, yes. Without the hive mind, the Vorinth would lose their coordination. They'd be vulnerable." For the first time in days, Elena felt a spark of hope. This could be the key to defeating the Vorinth once and for all. But infiltrating the Queen's fortress wouldn't be easy. The central node was likely located deep within her palace, surrounded by countless guards and traps. When Elena shared the plan with Kel, he frowned. "It's too risky," he said. "Even if we make it inside, How do we know we can actually reach the node? And what happens if we fail? The Vorinth will hunt us down like animals. I know it's dangerous, Alina replied. But think about it, Kale. If this works, we'll cripple their entire operation. We'll give everyone on Syntheris a real chance at freedom. Isn't that worth the risk? Kale hesitated, then sighed. Fine, but we need more than just hope. We need a solid plan. Over the next few days, the rebels worked together to prepare for the mission. The Lutheri provided maps of underground tunnels that led close to the palace. The augments built specialized tools to disable Vorinth security systems. Alina drilled the team repeatedly, ensuring everyone knew their roles. During this time, Alina often found herself thinking about Naira. Her sacrifice reminded her why they were fighting, not just for revenge, but for a future where no one else would have to suffer under the Vorinth's rule. She vowed to honor Naira's memory by seeing the mission through. As preparations neared completion, General Vorithis launched a devastating assault on the rebel base. Swarms of bioengineered creatures descended upon the camp, forcing the rebels to flee into the forest. Many were injured, and supplies were lost in the chaos. We can't keep running, Kale said grimly as they regrouped in a hidden cave. If we don't act now, the Vorinth will wipe us out completely. Alina agreed. Then it's settled. We move tonight. Under the cover of darkness, Alina, Kale, Solon, and a small strike team set out for the Queen's fortress. The journey was perilous, with patrols and drones constantly scanning the area. At one point, they narrowly avoided detection by hiding beneath a fallen tree as a group of Vorinth warriors marched past. Finally, they reached the outskirts of the palace, a towering structure made of shimmering black metal, bristling with defenses. Alina took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. This is it, she whispered. No turning back. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. Let's finish this. With determination burning in their hearts, the team slipped into the shadows, ready to face whatever awaited them inside. The air inside the Queen's fortress was cold and heavy, filled with the faint hum of machinery. Alina, Kale, Solon, and their small team moved cautiously through dimly lit corridors, avoiding patrols of Vorinth warriors and bioengineered creatures. Every step felt like walking on thin ice. One wrong move could mean disaster. Solon led the way, using his technical skills to disable security systems. He carried a handheld device that beeped softly whenever they approached a trap or surveillance camera. The augment worked quickly, his metallic fingers moving with precision as he hacked into control panels. We're close, Solon whispered, glancing at a map displayed on his wrist console. The central node should be in the next chamber. Alina nodded, gripping her weapon tightly. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she forced herself to stay focused. They couldn't afford mistakes. Not here. Not now. As they turned a corner, a group of Vorinth warriors appeared, their glowing eyes locking onto the intruders. Get down, Kale shouted, pushing Alina behind a pillar just as energy blasts erupted around them. The team returned fire, taking cover behind debris scattered across the hallway. Solon used a portable jammer to disrupt the Vorinth's hive mind connection, temporarily, causing confusion among the warriors. Seizing the opportunity, Alina and Kale charged forward, eliminating the remaining enemies with swift, precise strikes. When the corridor was clear, Alina glanced back at her team. Everyone was breathing hard, but no one had been seriously injured. Still, she knew they couldn't keep fighting like this forever. Time was running out. Finally, they reached the throne room, a massive chamber dominated by Queen Silithra herself. She stood atop a raised platform, her towering form draped in shimmering black armor. Her glowing eyes fixed on the intruders, radiating both power and disdain. So, you are the humans who dare challenge me, Silithra said, her voice echoing like thunder. Foolish creatures. You think your interference will change anything. Alina stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. We're not here to negotiate. Your reign ends today." Silithra chuckled darkly. Brave words for someone so insignificant. "Surrender now, and I may grant you a quick death." "No deal," Alina replied, raising her weapon. Without warning, Silithra unleashed a wave of energy, sending the team sprawling to the ground. Cal recovered first, firing his weapon at the queen, but she deflected the shots effortlessly with a flick of her clawed hand. "Stay focused," Alina yelled, scrambling to her feet. "Solon, find the node." While Kale and Alina kept Silithra distracted, Solon darted toward a pulsating orb suspended in the center of the room. It emitted a soft blue glow, connected to the walls by strands of glowing wires. This was the central control node, the heart of the hive mind system. Guarding the node were several elite Vorinth warriors, their movements synchronized with deadly accuracy. Solon fought fiercely, using his mechanical strength to overpower them. One warrior lunged at him, but he sidestepped and delivered a crushing blow, disabling the creature instantly. "Almost there," Solon called out. Silithra noticed what he was doing and roared in fury. She hurled another burst of energy, this time aimed directly at Solon. Kel shoved him out of the way, taking the full force of the blast. He collapsed to the floor, groaning in pain. "Kale!" Alina screamed, her anger flaring. Summoning every ounce of courage, Alina fired repeatedly at Silithra, forcing the queen to focus on her instead of Solon. The distraction gave Solon enough time to reach the node. With a final surge of effort, he activated a device that overloaded the system. A deafening crack echoed through the chamber as the node shattered, sending sparks flying everywhere. The glowing strands went dark, and the hum of the hive mind faded into silence. For a moment, everything stopped. Then, chaos erupted. The destruction of the central node sent shockwaves through the Vorinth Empire. Without their hive mind connection, the warriors began to falter. Their once perfect coordination dissolved into confusion and disarray. Some turned on each other, their instincts overriding any sense of unity. Others simply froze, unsure what to do without Silithra's commands guiding them. Queen Silithra staggered back, her glowing eyes dimming as her control over her forces slipped away. For the first time in centuries, she was vulnerable. Her towering form trembled with rage as she glared at Alina and her team. "You think this changes anything?" Silithra hissed, raising her clawed hands. "I am still your queen." But her words fell flat. The remaining Vorinth warriors hesitated, their loyalty wavering. One by one, they lowered their weapons, no longer bound by the hive mind's will. Alina stepped forward, her weapon trained on the queen. "It's over, Silithra. Your rule is done." With a final roar of defiance, Silithra lunged at Alina, but Kel, still injured but determined, intercepted her. Together, Alina and Kale fought fiercely, dodging her attacks and striking back until the queen collapsed, defeated. As silence settled over the throne room, Solon checked on Kel, who lay bleeding from his earlier injury. "Stay with me," Solon urged, applying pressure to the wound. "We did it," Kale whispered weakly, managing a faint smile. "We actually did it." Outside the palace, the effects of the hive mind's collapse spread quickly. Across Zintheris, the oppressed species rose up against their former oppressors. Freed from the queen's control, many Vorinth soldiers surrendered or fled. The rebellion had finally tipped the scales in their favor. Back at the hidden base, the rebels celebrated cautiously. Though victory was sweet, the cost weighed heavily on everyone. Nyra's sacrifice, Cal's injuries, and countless lives lost reminded them that freedom came at a price. Alina stood apart from the celebrations, gazing at the stars visible through the forest canopy. She thought about Earth and how far they had come, not just physically, but emotionally. This mission had changed her. She had arrived as an explorer, but she left as a leader and ally. Kale joined her after a while, leaning heavily on a makeshift crutch. "You okay?" he asked softly. "I'm fine," Alina replied, though her voice betrayed her sadness. I just wish Naira could see this. She believed in us when no one else did. She does see it, Kale said firmly. In every person who's free because of her. And in you. You gave us hope when we needed it most. Before leaving Zintheris, Alina gathered the rebel leaders to discuss the future. She handed them detailed plans for rebuilding infrastructure, restoring ecosystems damaged by the Vorinth, and creating a council to ensure equality among all species. This is your world now, Alina told them. Take care of it. And remember, humanity will always stand with you if you need us. As her ship ascended into orbit, Alina looked down at the scared but hopeful planet below. Despite everything they had endured, Zintheris was alive again, its people united by courage and resilience. On board, Alina sat quietly, reflecting on their journey. Humanity had come to Zintheris as strangers but left as saviors. She smiled faintly, knowing this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, among the endless stars, were more worlds waiting to be discovered, and more battles waiting to be fought. For now, though, Alina allowed herself a moment of peace. They had won. Against all odds, they had brought light to a darkened world. The end,